Well, sup, you chuckle fucks? It's your boy, Dark Raikou here with the What If Issei Became a Vasto Lord Part 4. And actually, yes, I'm doing Part 4 since I did Part 3 yesterday at like night, somewhere at the night, probably like 2 in the morning. But that's not the point here or there, but yeah. Now, let me begin into the What If. Let me shut the fuck up and let me begin. So yeah. So, last time happened to be mostly Issei beating the shit out of a fried chicken. A very arrogant fried chicken. Now, he didn't even use Holofy or any of that because he was way stronger than mostly the fried chicken himself at all. But not the point. We now begin into mostly where something is happening. Someone has been taking wrong cars for mostly Mundo, and Issei is right now on the move and trying to figure out who the hell is doing it. What I mean about taking a wrong cars out of Mundo, I mean literally taking them out of the dimension. Some of the wrong cars in Mundo that either come from naturally being born or being actually born by Aizen are actually being taken out. Even hollows. Uh, yeah. But mostly what I mean is that what I mean about being taken, I mean literally they're being teleported out of Mundo. Like some high ranks, like 3 high ranks and a couple of like foot soldiers. Now, it's not well, what's it called? Tira, or yeah, I think her name is Tira. It's not Tira or even Grimjaw or even what's it called? What's the other girl's name? I forgot. It's not none of them. It's not none of the high-ranking Ronkars, mostly that are left over from the Espadas or from mostly Aizen's kind of foot soldiers. But yeah, or his elites. No, it's none of them taking them out of Wakamundo to do whatever. No, it's not them. Some also Soul Reapers has noticed that some Arankars have been actually attacking Soul Society. And Urahara has been in, what's it called, Wakamundo for a couple times to just train Issei and mostly Wakamundo. So of course Urahara has backup claim that he even talked to Tira and Grimchow. But has no clue and reason why there's Arankars and Hollows attacking, well, Soul Society. And also being able to go to the human world. Which mostly everyone has been in a very confused state. Until mostly, what's it called? The scientist dude, I forgot his name. That, captain of the 12th Division. Kind of might have had a very good explainment. Or an idea, a very good theory. Mostly, if someone from the human world, because he knows that the human world has a lot of powerful magician creatures, whatever bullcrap. If a powerful magician managed to get their hands on a spell that will be able to control hollows and Arankars, because hollows and Arankars are close to that of a necromancer, kind of like mostly necromancer's powers, and mostly just when I mean about necromancer powers, I mean like they're somewhat like the undead, not entirely. They're mostly hollows, kind of represent similar to that of devils, but at the same time like the undead. But that's not the point. Of course, there's some ways to control mostly like necromancers, like mostly the undead, and also some devils. So mostly Mayuri kind of thought of the idea that there was, I think that's his name, Mayuri, mostly thought of the idea that mostly human might have possibly got towards Wakamundo. He has no idea how, but there's a good chance. Now, he doesn't even know how humans would know about the Soul Society, the Wakamundo, or wherever the else Quincy's are at. And yes, Quincy's are kind of alive in this one. Kind of. Not much. So I will explain that later. But it's not during Yuha Ball. I will mention Yuha Ball later, but not the point. Listen, well, he explains that mostly he doesn't know how that's working, but if there's a way for mostly those beings to get to Wakamundo or, well, what's it called, Soul Society, then there might be a way. He does also explain that there might be a way through, well, mostly to get there, mostly to get to Wakamundo or Soul Society or to another dimension, through mostly the dimensional gap. Because yes, the dimensional gap can actually probably go to the outer worlds, like mostly Soul Society or even Wakamundo. There's a way through there, but he probably the only other person that usually lives in, well, mostly the what's it called, the dimensional gap is Great Red. Now, of course, everyone knows about Great Red's existence and also knows about the human existence, devils, and other things. It's just how the hell do they know about their lives? Mostly Soul Society and Wakamundo. They shouldn't know that much information about Wakamundo or Soul Society. So that's the problem. Of course, this is where, well, that's the biggest problem right now happening. But this is where, well, mostly, they think it might have a connection with Issei, because, well, kind of because he's a Rankar slash mostly human. Now, of course, they do not know about his Shinigami part because mostly Urahara keeps that secret. Even if he's a descendant of, what's it called, Aizen, they might try to imprison him. So, of course, he instead just decided to keep it as a secret. So that's the case. Now, of course, no one else knows about mostly Issei knowing that he's actually the grandson of Aizen. Mostly, there's a good chance that Urahara probably has an idea that mostly his father probably knows, his mother probably doesn't, and the only people is mostly Urahara just kind of points to 3 people to knowing that, well, Aizen is basically the grandfather of Issei. That being, well, Aizen himself being a confirmed kind of theory yet, or mostly confirmed resource, Urahara himself and also Issei. He doesn't know if mostly Issei's father knows, but if he does, then that'll be also confirmed to be 4. He knows that no one else knows, but yeah. So he's just gonna keep that a secret until he dies, but whatever. Issei isn't going to go just tell everyone that he's basically the grandson of one of the special threats, because he'd rather not do that. He's not an idiot. He hates that man with all his mostly being. But that's not the point. Of course, with all them other theories of happening, mostly from Society kind of meeting with mostly the captains, and also Urahara being there with Ichigo and also Issei, they kind of only got a couple of mostly ideas, but yeah. This is where Issei is kind of on the case to kind of go figure it out. Mostly, not by himself, but mostly everyone is trying to figure out. Because if that's the case of people, mostly like Hollows and Arankars getting out of, well, Wakamundo somehow by help of a human, it mostly will fall onto Issei's job to probably take out the Hollows and Arankars and also take out the human. Because Issei is kind of human. But it doesn't mean that other Shinigamis or Arankars won't be able to take them out, which they can. They can probably just kill them. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's just of a huge problem. But yeah. Now, Issei is right now trying to figure out where to find these kind of beings. If he can find where they're at, he will try to stop them. Of course, well, Urahara did tell Issei not to use his Arankar powers. That being said, or any of the Arankar powers, if he has to use any powers, try to use the abilities that he just found out about a month ago. Mostly, this is kind of the 5th month, and mostly this 5th month is kind of crazy, so yeah. Mostly what I'm talking about abilities is that he found out some strange abilities that aren't even his. Actually, he doesn't even know how he got these abilities. I will mention them later. But mostly the abilities is one with negative emotion. He can control this negative emotion energy, which is similar to that of mostly Ryotsu, but it's not Ryotsu. It's just like this negative emotion energy, which he only figured out through the fact that he was angry, annoyed, and hating himself when he was fighting against mostly Ichigo, or mostly not Ichigo, Chad, from the fact that he's weak. And of course his hand glowed with its red energy and punches shit out of Chad so hard that he probably knocked out some mostly light out of Chad, which he did. He managed to knock him out. But of course, Issei was confused and of course horrified. This is where, his energy of negative motion started kind of rampaging. Of course, this is where, he had to learn how to control it, which mostly Urahara didn't actually know what this was, but only had a theory. He decides to call the energy cursed energy, because it was similar to that of mostly the cursed energy that he heard of on some books, because he knows that some humans can actually do something like that. This is where, he then noticed that Issei can also has his hand glowing dark when he punches shit out of Chad, which, yes, Chad was knocked out for the count, but of course some ribs broke, and of course his hand was hard and mostly Issei's hand. This is where, mostly Urahara did also felt mostly an energy of like this domination energy a little bit, but it wasn't the Red Dragon domination. No, it wasn't that. But mostly it was what's it called? Something called Armament Hawking and Conqueror's Hawking that mostly Issei let out from his body. Now, he does know humans can do that also, but he doesn't know if Issei's connected with some of the pirates thing. Mostly the pirate kind of religion, not religion. Mostly the what's it called? Wait. Mostly the Pirates Pantheon and another place called the Cursed Pantheon, but not the point. This is where, well, he doesn't know if Issei's connected with them at all. This is where, well, he also did notice that Issei had this weird kind of impulse around his body, this dark impulse around him, which he knows what it is, but only a few humans can control it, and that being, what's it called? Well, that energy kind of being called Dark Impulse, which Issei at that time, he only had it for a few seconds. So of course in that month he was trying to teach Issei as best as he can to control Dark Impulse, mostly Hawking, and also Curse energy. As best that he can. He also needed to get books from different places of the world, mostly the Pantheon, because mostly the Hawking comes from the Pirates Pantheon. The Curse energy comes from the, what's it called, Curse Pantheons. Well, mostly, yeah. When I mean Curse Pantheons, I mean like Pantheons that use kind of like Curse magic, somewhat, but also similar to Curse energy. And the last one, mostly Dark Impulse, he just tells Issei that he doesn't know how the fuck that works most of the time. But mostly Issei was told by mostly Urahara on that day to only use those three abilities and not to use his Arrancar powers. But if he has to use his Shinigami powers, he will have to do that. But this is where Issei refuses sometimes. He doesn't like using Kitos or even Haros or any of that, because it really just reminds him way too much of this is where, well, sorry about pausing, and sorry about the loud music if you guys got destroyed of your ears. Fair warning, I did not intend for that to happen, but that, not the point, sorry about that. But we go into mostly Issei. Issei can only use those three kind of abilities, those three strange abilities, and also mostly sometimes uses Shinigami abilities. But like I mentioned, he does not like using Harukido or any of that stuff. Even though he's interested in mostly Shinigami's abilities, it reminds him way too much of that man and hates it so much. He will only use his sword if he needs to, but mostly any of that, he doesn't. He just still too traumatized, okay? And very hateful. But whatever. But mostly we go into Issei kind of nodding at mostly, Urahara. Of course, when he has to go to the human world, he always has his mask and mostly the scarf and mostly the rag on his head, just so people won't actually discover who he is. Because he doesn't really want to. That, and he's actually quite nervous with that. But not the point. We go into mostly Issei getting towards mostly the human world to actually try to sense and where he needs to go. But yeah. We go into Issei right now using, well, mostly flash step to actually step on step, mostly a bunch of buildings. Now, where he's at, he's actually in somewhere near, what's it called, Europe, just to try to find, well, any clues. This is where, well, he's mostly trying to find anything in the human world. Any presence of like hollow, mostly like Rialto or any of that. If he can't find any of that, then mostly it will be kind of bad and he won't even have any clue to go off. The reason why he picked Europe wasn't because it was energy in Europe, it's because he just needed to pick somewhere in freaking the world. And he didn't want to pick Japan because he didn't know if there would be anyone there. And if devils and angels manage to find his presence, it'd probably be bad. But not the point. We go into Issei kind of getting to a church. Now, he actually managed to pick up something in Europe somewhere near a church. What I mean about that is that he managed to pick up Rialto being used against exorcists, which is confusing because he knows one thing for sure. He knows that hollows will attack anyone, but this Rialto is kind of potent to be like that from the Ronkars. Mostly, like the Ronkars, they kind of has their energy to be kind of potent. to being kind of like much more stronger than any of the hollows. This is where, well, Issei is right now flash stepping straight towards mostly where the church would be at. But when he gets there, he sees a bunch of exorcists being dead on the ground, having their kind of heads being like kind of severed from their bodies. And this is where, well, he does notice a kind of this like grayish shadow kind of fly will mostly blow a hole through the kind of church on top of it, and of course right now makes the shadow kind of fly from the church, kind of just like a beam. This is where, well, Issei winds his eyes and decides to get towards mostly the church very fast, but decides to go on the roof to actually see what's happening. What he sees is, well, a Arancard having his mask on. Now he knows one thing for sure. No Arancards has their mask fully on unless they were kind of a hollow or mostly a Gillian or whatever the fuck they were, mostly a Vasto or any of that had a mask on. The reason why Issei is special and usually has his mask on is because of his weird power source, whatever. But that's not the point. He sees this Arancard's mask being on, but it's purely kind of a darkish gray color, and he knows that all mostly Arancards and more hollows or anything has to have their mask kind of being a pure white. This mask is purely gray, a darkish gray, similar to that of being almost the same color as black, but he can't tell because mostly it's kind of dark. So yeah, he arrived in the human world when it's kind of dark, but yeah, so he won't be discovered. Like, well, kind of, even though he kind of stands out pretty well thanks to his white clothes, but that's not the point. This is where, well, Issei is right now kind of just standing on top of the church, and this is where he sees the Arancard taking a blade out of kind of this, like, seal place. He noticed the sword kind of has a, like, holy presence, which this is where Issei does not know what it is, but he can only guess that the sword is important. This is where, well, Issei decides to jump down to actually fight against this Arancard. Now, he does remember that he can't use his Arancard powers because he doesn't know about the main user who is actually controlling the Arancards. But this is where when he lands down, the Arancard turns around so fast, like if he twisted his head, but this is where it felt like he wasn't alive most of the time if he wasn't like fully there. He doesn't know which Arancard this is, but mostly the Arancard right now rushes at Issei, right now trying to attack him, right now trying to swing him with mostly his sword. Now the Arancard's sword is basically like this curved blade. It's a very curved blade, similar to that of a snake. And this is where, well, he tries to cut Issei's head, which Issei managed to duck down and send a very powerful uppercut straight towards the Arancard's like face, cracking the mask a little bit, but this is where it regens a little bit slower than normal, which mostly yes, hollow masks do kind of regen slow, but mostly this like mask was regening kind of slow, not that fast, which he expected mostly the hollow mostly mask to regen faster to the part that he might be under control, unless the main user who's actually controlling the Arancard isn't here right now. Now there's also one problem. The Arancards can actually hold the holy sword no problem because the holy sword doesn't really affect them that much. The only thing that might affect the Arancard are mostly, I should mention one thing. Holy weapons from like humans, like what's it called, Excaliburs and other things, will not affect hollows that much. You actually need either a Zanpakuto to actually affect them, or even a Quincy arrow, or just Quincy energy mostly, but yeah. But other than that, like Excaliburs and other things that he's mostly the Arancard's holding, isn't really affecting him that much, even though he's holding it from the handle, and this is where he's trying to kill mostly Issei. Issei is dodging right now using Flash Step to dodge pretty easily. This is where, well, the Arancard tried to do a pierce motion straight towards Issei, but of course Issei noticed that thing isn't gonna reach him until the blade became straight and launch at him like mostly getting Chimaru's kind of like blade. This is where, well, Issei winds his eyes and dodges to the like left of him. This is where, well, he does know that Arancards do have their blades. Mostly any Arancards or blades are sometimes different. They have the unique abilities, but mostly what's it called? He does know that some of them has unique abilities and some of them do kind of come out different, their blades being different. But he does also know that some Arancards usually has their blades kind of a normal kind of white blade, but whatever. And mostly when they use resurrection, it kind of makes them become stronger and their blades become different into whatever they need to be. But yeah. Now Issei's blade, which he has two of them, but mostly one of them is an actual Zanpakuto and the other one is an actual, what's it called? Mostly a resurrection kind of blade. He doesn't know which one is which. Yeah. So, but I'll mention later which one is which, but not the point. This is where, well, Issei is not going to try to use his Arrancar powers, but this is where, well, he then disappears when mostly the Arrancar's kind of like view and appear behind the Arrancar, and when the Arrancar turns around fast enough, he gets a punch straight to the face in an instant, cracking his mask. This is where he launched in through a couple of like chairs that was in the, what's it called, church, and this is where the Arrancar's face, mostly the mask, started cracking. It breaks off a good chunk of it, and right now showing his eye. His eye is right now like this darkish tealish blue color is. This is where, well, he kind of has blackish hair, and this is where, well, the Arrancar is right now screaming in frustration and anger, but at the same time pain and like this, like mostly trying to get out of the control. Which Issei notices, but this is where someone appeared right in front of him. A man that was wearing a black kind of like coat and a hood on him. Of course, where, well, he had like these eyes on top of his head. This is where, well, not the eyes, mostly like these symbol eyes on top of his head, and on his back were like 3 eyes. And this is where, well, he then puts a magical circle on top of the Arrancar's head to actually control him fully. Right now, we're joining the mask, the grayish mask, the dark grayish mask, and this is where when the mostly human or whoever this is, a mage probably, decided to turn around to see Issei. Issei was right now seeing this, and this is where, well, the mage tries to also control him, using a magic spell. But when the magic spell tries to land on Issei, Issei disappears in an instant, doing flash step. This is where he tries to attack the mage, but this is where 2 other Arrancars appeared. Now, of course, this is where Issei noticed the 2 Arrancars already had their unique blades out, and right now tried to cut him. This is where Issei jumped away and realized that mostly this bastard, mostly the one in the mage kind of clothing, is the one controlling the Arrancars. Now there's 3 elite Arrancars and a couple of hollows. This is where, well, hollows are foot soldiers. This is where the mage tells the hollows to attack Issei while he leaves with the Arrancars and the holy kind of blade. The hollows right now rushes at him, and of course knowing that all the hollows have their mask, but they are dark gray, and also their energy seems to be a little bit more powerful. Not enough power to overpower Issei, but just an annoying bunch. Just a bunch of like fodder. Just a bunch of fodder, but yeah. This is where all the hollows trying to attack Issei. Issei disappears in an instant, punching one of the hollows in the face, right now destroying his mask, then dodging another and kicking that shit so hard, breaking it. This is where, well, Issei is disappearing and reappearing easily, kind of destroying some of the hollow mask. This is where, well, he noticed that a bunch of hollows were going to attack him. Behind him, there's like 6 more. And this is where Issei was getting so angry that mostly his eyes became darkened a little bit. Mostly behind his, like, mostly mask. And of course, his hair was becoming darkened also. Instead of being blightish brown color, it was becoming darker brown color. This is where his hair was kind of flaring up a little bit, kind of pushing off the rag, and this is where Issei got annoyed. But of course, his speed and power just decided to drastically kind of go up in an instant. This is where Issei disappeared in an instant, reappearing behind the hollows, destroying all their masks by just one punch of the mask, instantly evaporating in an instant. This is where, well, his hands were covered up in this like dark energy, mostly this black energy, well, not black energy, mostly this black armament kind of like energy. This is where, well, he then calmed down in an instant, just needed to calm down and think straight, and still trying to locate the mostly mage and also the Arrancars. He can't locate the mage because he doesn't use magic, but he can definitely locate what's it called, the Arrancar's energy. So of course this is where he disappears in a So this is where he uses a Deska, right? Mostly a kind of portal for him to jump into mostly Wakamuno and the human world, but pretty much he just uses it to kind of try to... He uses a bit of his, like, what's it called, Rialto, at the same time using a bit of magic. The magic that he can control. He can't sense magic, but he can control magic a little bit. Now this is where, well, Issei kind of disappears into the portal to try to, well, mostly travel to trying to find this person. Now, we go into a POV of somewhere else. We go into a POV about like a couple of weeks has been kind of passing by. This is where, well, we go into a battlefield of mostly a couple of students. Yes, these people seem to be students, but also the fact that mostly some of them aren't students and mostly exorcists. There is 5 exorcists in total. A couple of mostly humans, or mostly they are humans. Well, 4 of them are humans. One of them is actually an angel, but she's like somewhat of an exorcist still, because of her father, but not the point. But not the point. There's also a double Parage being there, with mostly a red-haired beauty kind of Parage being there. A werewolf being there, being right now in her hybrid of werewolf slash mostly human form. A vampire who's right now there with mostly blood manipulation shoulders, but not the point. And also the werewolf has like these ice manipulation shoulders. But yeah. There's also, well, what's it called? There's also 2 humans, well, mostly 4 humans somewhat. 2 of them are actually devils from a different barrage, but designed to help, while 2 humans that actually have powerful sacred gears. Now, there's also a couple other beings there, but mostly they're just there trying to take out their own kind of villain parties, because there's actually, well, a couple of villains are right now in front of them. One villain is right now sitting on his throne, right now relaxing and waiting for mostly strong people to show up, because these people are just children to him. This is where, well, below him is a crazy exorcist that is named Sersex Freed or something. I don't know, something like that. Mostly his name is Freed. And this is where, well, next to Freed is someone named Vampire, and then a bunch of other people, but not the point. Mostly some of them are rogue exorcists, but also some of the other things are kind of like a yokai being there that's not really supposed to be there, but he seems to be, well, mostly looking at another yokai on the other side, who's actually with the devil side, but yeah. Now, of course, she is a nerd, but of course annoyed at this fucker. Now, there's also, also fallen angels, like rogue fallen angels. And I should mention there's also fallen angels on the devil side right now trying to fight against mostly these fallen angels, but wasn't expecting an army slash mostly some rogue exorcists to be here, but yeah. This is where, well, also there's actually a portal appearing, a grayish kind of portal. This is where the grayish portal right now appears to be a mage with 3 kind of mostly masked figures, and these grayish masked figures. This is where, well, they have 2, well, mostly 2 holy swords on their hands. Mostly the mage has 2 holy swords behind him floating, and this is where he gives them to Vampire. Now Vampire is right now trying to, or not having the holy swords, mostly he's just there. This is where he is grinning, thinking that he'll be able to take them out. Now, before anything else happened, mostly they were mostly outnumbered, the devils and other things. Before anything else happening, someone appears right in front of them. Well, not really appear right in front of them, appears right in front of mostly the like masked figures and also the mage in an instant. It was none other than Issei, but mostly still in his kind of disguise somewhat. This is where, well, Issei was so annoyed and saying, "You motherfucker keeps running away from me, you little shit. Now that I find you, I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you. I'm gonna beat you so silly that you're gonna fucking wish that you were dead." Which Issei was really pissed. He was annoyed. He was just tired of this bullcrap to actually chase this motherfucker down. It's been 2 weeks and this motherfucker hasn't really attacked Soul Society or mostly Awakened Mundo, but mostly also Reapers and mostly Ronkars who are already on guard. Now Grimjaw was on guard and he knows that mostly whoever this is won't be able to take control of him. Because it did happen once when mostly Grimjaw managed to break free and was about to beat this man silly. Now, and this is where, well, the mage was surprised to see this goddamn Ronkar keep chasing him down. Now, of course, he doesn't understand why he can't control this Ronkar. But this is where, well, he just snaps and says, "Attack! Well, let me say it again. He calls mostly these 3 Ronkars Los Tres Noches. So yeah, I'm just calling them Los Tres Noches. This is where he says, "Attack Los Tres Noches!" This is where, well, all 3 Ronkars right now rushes at Issei. But this is where, well, mostly the mage right now snaps his fingers and says, "Resurrect!" This is where he screams at mostly all three hollows, or mostly Arankars, which they all pull out their blades. The one with the curved blade right now kind of doesn't say the word resurrect, but mostly he kind of just resurrects. This is where, well, one of them had a blade. Well, mostly this blade was looked like a butcher, kind of like a butcher knife, but it was a little bit bigger. And of course he resurrects. And this is where the last one was a blade that was kind of curved up, but instead of the blade kind of being like a katana, it looked like a katana, but it was like cut straight on the top. This is where he also resurrects. This is where, well, when all three of them resurrected in an instant, mostly the one that was kind of somewhat having the curved blade has this gray mask still, to being like a snake somewhat. And of course, where he has like these snakes kind of coming out of his hair, similar to that of like Medusa somewhat. But of course, not the point. This is where, well, his body is also that of like a slithering kind of body, like a snake body. This is where, well, the other two, the one with the kind of like, mostly the meat cleaver, kind of has his body to be like a big, what's it called, pig, someone like a really big pig. The mask being shaped to be like a pig. And of course, where, well, his eyes are red. Of course, this is where, well, he has this like weapon to be a large, what's it called, what's it called, meat cleaver. But yeah, now, well, not meat cleaver, mostly he has large claws. But yeah, now the snake one actually has mostly his sword gone, but this is where his like claws are quite large. But mostly it's not his claws are most deadly, it's his actually fangs, which are still his mask, but yeah, still part of his face. But yeah, this is where, well, the last one is kind of, well, this kind of eagle. Yes, it's an eagle, kind of like mostly an eagle or Rancard, which he has an eagle mask, but this is where he has wings behind that are white. And of course his body is still humanoid somewhat, but this is where he has claw marks, or mostly claw legs, as like mostly his feet are actually like claws, similar to that of like a bird. But yeah, now he has wings behind him that are actually his arms that actually transform into those wings. But yeah, this is where, well, the wings are quite sharp. But yeah, this is where, well, his body is also kind of feathery. Well, not, yeah, feathery somewhat, but not the point. But this is where, well, Issei right now sighs and realizes that he has to kind of fight them without using mostly Rancard abilities or mostly Shinigami abilities. But this is where he still uses Flash Step, well, whatever. This is where, well, he activates mostly the three abilities that he's actually been training for a while. Because if he hasn't found the energy signature of the Rankards that keep escaping him, he actually trains on the three kind of abilities on those 2 weeks, because he'd rather not waste goddamn time. This is where, well, he found out that they're here in Kuwo, which confused the hell out of him, but he didn't care. Now that he's here, he wants to gut out his father like a fish. He has so many urges to just cut his father down. Like every time he saw his father kind of going to work and other things, like he was here for a couple of times, like mostly when he found out the signature came here, but then disappeared and went somewhere else. He saw his father sometimes in a, what's it called, going to job, working friendly, normal, of course, waving at some girls like that are way younger than him, and of course having a smile on his face. Perverted somewhat, but mostly having a smile. This is where, well, Issei really wants to gut out his father like a fish. He really has so many urges to just kill him, but needed to control himself because he was on a mission. He can't give in to his dark urges to literally kill him. But mostly those dark urges, mostly those dark, sinister urges, actually help out to mostly his training pretty well. But yeah, this is where, well, he sees the three Arankars still right in front of him, already resurrected, and he can't go resurrected until he takes out the Mage. When he found out that mostly the Mage is when he's not in front of or next to the hollows, and if he managed to break one of their mask, he found out that mostly they will go back to normal. So if he takes out the controller, he can probably somehow make the other Arankars like come back to normal, or normal as they were in the beginning with. This is where, well, Issei disappears from mostly their view in an instant flash stepping, but mostly the Arankars are still managing to keep up with him. Since he can't use Senito to actually increase his speed awesome, he is really kind of slow, somewhat. This is where, well, he's right now dodging the attacks from mostly the Arankars. This is where, well, the one with the snakes kind of sent out his hands to being like huge snakes to try to eat at Issei, which Issei managed to dodge and kind of went up in the air. This is where, well, the one with the mostly ego one tried to just send like these metal shards straight towards Issei from his wings that are like feathers, but they're not metal, but they're close to being like somewhat metal and sharp somewhat. This is where, well, Issei flashed her from there. This is where he didn't notice the big guy being behind him, right now appearing behind him and trying to like cut his head with his like large claws. And this is where Issei noticed behind him. This is where Issei was getting annoyed. This is where Issei's energy mostly increased. It's mostly curse energy. He increases curse energy from his fist, becoming a blackish red and punching the shit out of mostly this like large pig. This is where he managed to crack the mask pretty hard to actually kind of shattering a little bit, which the mage was actually surprised and shocked at the same time. This is where, well, mostly when Issei did that in an instant, he called this technique called Black Flash, because it literally, he can go so fast in an instant, and the technique kind of just makes his body go so fast and nothing, it looked like nothing happened. But yeah, but the impact is quite powerful. This is where, well, he disappears from mostly that pig and reappearing right in front of, well, the snake in an instant. The snake tries to use something like his eyes become white, and this is where he tries to hit at Issei, which Issei disappears in an instant, and the ground underneath him turns to stone in an instant. This is where, well, Issei says, okay, similar to that Medusa, it's quite annoying. This is where Issei appears behind the guy. Now the guy tries to use his legs, kind of like snake, well, hair to try to attack Issei, which Issei managed to just kind of grab all the hair and kind of just rip it off from his back, well, mostly out of his hair, like 3 snakes' hairs. And this is where, well, the person screeches a little bit, but this is where Issei then smashes a kick on top of his head, even if some of the snakes tried to bite him, which none of them did try to bite him. But of course, this is where when the snake kind of went down, right now his eyes went back into a kind of normalish, kind of dullish and not being white. This is where Issei appeared right in front of the wrong card again. And this is where, well, Issei then fucking sent a powerful knee, or not even knee, well yeah, a powerful knee into the wrong card, into his face, right now cracking the mask. Awesome. This is where, well, he rushes to the bird, but the bird is right now up in the air. And this is where, well, the bird was being really fucking annoying. This is where he keeps sending like feathers straight towards Issei, which Issei keeps dodging in an instant. Right now using using flash step. But this is where he noticed that the other two's masks were returning much more faster. He knows that he needs to take out the controller, and he wanted to actually take them out for a second, mostly take out the others for a second, and try to take out the controller. But this is where Issei is left with no choice, but he needs to kind of use all 3 abilities at the same time. Just like that one time he did. This is where, well, Issei tries to use mostly the armament hawking towards his like hands to become much more stronger. Then he uses mostly the curse energy to go on his fist. And this is where, well, mostly then use what's it called, Dark Impulse. This is where, well, he can't really use Dark Impulse until he thought of something dark and sinister to do to his father, like kill him. And this is where he now thought of mostly his eyes became darker a little bit. This is where his speed, power, and everything just shot up in an instant. This is where Issei disappears from mostly the Arankar's view and appears right in front of mostly the controller. The controller widens his eyes and tries to use a magic spell like a shield to block the Arankar's attack, or mostly to stab Arankar. This is where the mostly the wall shatters in an instant, and Issei started just sending haymakers straight towards this mage's face in an instant. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. What it kind of looked like? It kind of looked like this. Okay, so it kind of looked like this. Ignore the dodging, but it kind of looks like this. Most of the punches. So yeah, Issei was kind of clocking this motherfucker out so hard, like sending the left, right, left, right, left, right, sending some goddamn haymakers out here, knocking this man to the fucking 9 realms of hell, even back and forwards, until he clocked this man fully out. This is where his face was all bloody as fuck. The mage might have powerful magician magic and other stuff, but he doesn't have great like physical stand or anything like Issei, which Issei is physically built as hell. He's like a fucking built brick wall, but not the point. This is where, well, that man was just knocked the fuck out. Of course, it's magic on mostly the control Ronkars. The Ronkars were going to attack Issei, but mostly their magic shattered in an instant. Right now, I'm confused on what the hell happened because they stopped in an instant before attacking Issei. And when Issei turns around, his eyes were mostly a very bloodshot red, turning around with a very angry, annoyed expression. And his energy was quite sinister as hell that right now scared the shit out of mostly the Ronkars when they came back to sense. They mostly felt like they were standing in front of a superior being, and the only other superior being they ever met was that of Sosuke Aizen, or any of the Espadas. Now, of course, this is where they instantly, right now, feared of Issei. This is where Issei's hands are all bloody, but it's not his blood, it's basically the other guy's blood. And this is where Issei said, "What are you people thinking?" This is where, well, he said in such a cold, sinister voice. This is where they all kind of freeze and say, who are you? Don't tell me who am I. Attack the damn bastards out over there. Fallen angels and exorcists in an instant now. Issei said with such a very, authority voice. And right now, scaring the shit out of all of them, and right now they all bow down in an instant and say, "Yes, sir." This is where, well, the mostly los tres noches decide to attack in an instant. Right now, attacking and ripping through and slaughtering the fallen angels / mostly exorcists. And when mostly when a fallen angel notices, he was surprised in an instant that one mostly mage was killed in an instant. When he met this mage this one time, we go into mostly a flashback of mostly this person meeting with the mage. The mage says that he will help him when he will get strong allies and being able to control these strong allies. This is where, well, mostly the fallen angel was kind of not really caring, but seeing the mostly alliance that he had, mostly they were called Los Tres Noches, he was actually thinking that maybe he would get more. But mostly this person said that 3 is his limit, but he would get more because 1 is actually chasing him down. This is where, well, he could never got this person and instead got defeated by the person. This is where, well, he was confused. But right now was interested in the person's power. And when Issei noticed this was a call, mostly fallen angel appeared from mostly his throne, having 6 pairs of wings because, or not 6 pairs, mostly 5 pairs of wings. He had actually 10 in total. And this is where, well, he grins right now at Issei sinisterly. This is where Issei was annoyed as hell. This is where now he looks down at mostly the mage, and this is where Issei pulls out his blade, his Shinigami blade, and cut this guy's head off. This is where, well, mostly the the fallen angel was confused, but Issei did it because he didn't want this fucker to control him. Instead, he was now being able to use his Ronkar powers. So of course he lets out his Ryatsu mostly out of his body, regenerating mostly any tiredness from re-energizing his body again. This is where he disappears in an instant, right now kicks, well, mostly the fallen angel right in the face. The fallen angel was launched down to the ground and was now grinning like a madman, seeing the power of this person. This is where both mostly the fallen angel Cocobean, that was his name, or also known as Cocobean in Issei's words, because he just calls him Cocobean instead of Cocobean, because it was already hard enough to fucking say and didn't give a damn that much. And of course, this is where Issei was right now using his black blade to fight against Cocobean. This is where, well, they were both clashing with light sword versus a Shinigami blade. This is where, well, the light spears were quite fast, but they weren't as fast as the blade that Issei has. Now, the 2 blades are basically katanas. I should have mentioned that a while ago. But yeah, they're kind of like, which I mentioned. I think I did mention they're like Zanpakutos, but not the point. This is where, well, Issei is holding the black blade with his left hand, and this is where he's clashing with mostly the light spears instantly. Now, of course, the light spears are quite strong, but mostly they can easily break from mostly Issei's thrusting and power. Now, Issei's Dark Impulse hasn't actually worked out any time, but this is where with the power of his Ronkar power and other things, his power increases a lot. So, of course, he's clashing with the crazy fallen angel on par of strength. This is where, well, Issei's mostly dark impulse started wearing off and mostly the other energies, but that's just because he hasn't had them for a long time to actually start practicing training. But yeah, because he's confused in how he awakened them in the first place. But this is where when the fallen angel was about to stab Issei in the face, trying to hit him right in the face, mostly to try to kill him, because he thinking that now this mostly weak species is already tired, and he doesn't care about killing it or not. But when he stabs, Issei in the face, he almost hit him, but mostly this is where one of the Arrancars managed to use his tail, or mostly his like snake body tail, to grab Issei from mostly the fallen angel in an instant, seeing that the Arrancar seems to be already tired. Now, of course, the kind of light spear managed to smash into Issei's face, but not much, mostly shattering it, and of course, Issei's right now covered that part of his face because he doesn't want to show the kind of cool students. Now this is where when the other cool students, I should mention the devils and other things, decide to try to help out mostly the Arrancars to destroying the exorcism and fallen angels. So yeah, mostly they were actually just watching the battle between Issei and actually mostly the Mage. And when the Mage was defeated in an instant, Issei was now able to take control of mostly Los Tres Noches. That's what they were called. But yeah. Now, of course, mostly a couple of people were surprised to see the same Arrancar like they saw about a month ago. Because, yes, it's been over a month since they have seen this person. And it's none other than that one kind of mostly Arrancar. But, yeah. Now, not the point. We go into mostly Issei disappearing in an instant. And mostly, not disappearing, mostly, where am I going on? Ugh. I'm going off my head of my head. No. But we go into Issei right now kind of holding his face. And this is where we go into mostly someone saying, hey. Well, mostly someone says, hey, idiot. This is where, well, he just said, what do you want? You know you won't be able to defeat him. So, why don't you switch me? I'll kill him. I'll make sure that little fucker doesn't ever touch us ever again. I know how tired you are. You haven't slept for a couple of days. Even though you're in a Arrancar and sleep isn't really necessary, you're still tired because you're still a human. Issei said, you're right. I am tired. And I feel very tired. Fine, I'll switch with you. Don't go wild. And why do you think I'll go wild? I won't go wild. Don't worry, partner. You be in good hands. This is where, well, Issei passes out while letting his inner demon, or mostly / Shiro version of him, being called Shiro. And this is where, well, a hollow mask appears on mostly the white mask. And right now connecting to it. This is where, well, it was actually the one, mostly the mask that appears every time his inner demon takes control. But it managed to connect with the other white mask. This is where, well, the white mask barely showed his eye most of the time, but this one does show his eye, and it's kind of a black on his mostly that one white part of his eye, and of course, instead of his eye being brownish gold, instead it is a darkish purplish color, or yeah, I'm gonna just say darkish purplish color for now. This is where, well, the Shiro version of Issei right now laughs in an instant scene. This is where, well, he managed to kind of get out of the Arrancar's tail in an instant, but of course his power and speed actually increases in an instant. This is where he sheathed the black blade and hold the white blade instead with his right hand. This is where, well, mostly the Arrancar feels this energy appear and mostly scared the shit of him in an instant. The superior being actually appears again, but being a little bit more sinister and different. And this is where, well, feeling more like an Arrancar, like an instant state to kill anything that was around, what's it called? Arrancar itself. This is where, well, he gets scared because the only time he ever met someone like this is Grimgel, or even the Espada that was number 0. But yeah, this is where, well, he was right now in a very terrifying person, a being. This is where, well, Shiro appears right in front of, well, mostly Cocobean, and Cocobean says, huh? This is where, well, he tries to swing, mostly block the attack with mostly a light spear from mostly the white blade from cutting him down, but the white blade just shatters through the mostly light spear in an instant, cutting Cocobean from his chest. This is where Cocobean coughed in blood and realized that no longer the child who was actually taking control of this body is now a sinister being laughing at him, saying, "Oh my, it seems I cut you down. Well, don't you feel that delicious pain coursing through your body? Or the fact that you are a little bitch that can't do anything?" This is where, well, Cocobean coughs up some blood, but this is where, well, he gets angry, and this is where he launches light spears right towards Issei. But this is where, well, Shiro uses Senito and also Flash Dip, or mostly not Flash Dip, he just uses Senito, and this is where he appears behind Cocobean, and before Cocobean can react, this is where a cut appears behind him. But this is where mostly 5 pairs of wings were cut off from behind, and that was his right side. This is where Cocobean right now coughs up even more blood, and this is where, well, he right now tries to fly, but really he only has 5 wings on his left side, and his right side are all cut off in an instant. This is where, well, Shiro drops their feathers down to the ground and says, "Oh, were these necessary?" This is where, well, mostly Cocobean glares at now the mostly what's it called, Shiro part of Issei right now taking control. So I'm gonna call him Shiro for now. Shiro says, "Oh, were those necessary?" He's right now laughing at mostly Cocobean, and Cocobean says, "You annoying!" This is where he loses his balance of flying, so of course he's landing down to the ground. He lands kind of perfectly fine, but this is where he then throws light spears at, well, Shiro. Shiro dodges, wee, like they're not even hitting him. This is where Shiro is saying, "Oh, well, if they were necessary, but too bad. Blue flare." This is where he swings his blade in a horizontal kind of like swing, and this is where a blue flash of mostly like this like blue wave went straight towards Cocobean. And Cocobean did send light spears, but all the light spears were destroyed in an instant by the blue flare. This is where it was like a bluish flame attack. This is where it smashes into Cocobean, and Cocobean coughs up and this is where, well, he then looks up at mostly Shiro, and Shiro appears right in front of him. And this is where Shiro was swinging the blade, because it does have a little, like, little kind of chains appearing, and he's swinging it similar to that of, like, Shiro's, well, mostly Ichigo's kind of hollow when he kind of holds his Bankai, but yeah. Well, mostly Issei's sword is not a Bankai, but instead it's something resurrectional. But not the point. He's swinging it like a freaking Beyblade, and this is where, well, he's kind of just going, "Well, it seems you're quite pathetic." This is where, well, he's laughing at mostly Cocobean. Cocobean grins and even says, "What the hell are you? Whatever you are. Freed!" This is where Freed right now has the Excalibur. And this is where Freed says, "Aye, die, you devil!" This is where, well, Shiro grabs the blade in an instant. Just grabbing the fucking holy Excalibur blade. That's kind of combined with 5. Mostly Excaliburs. This is where, well, Shiro looks at mostly the Excalibur blade and looks at Freed. Looks back at the blade, looks at Freed. Looks back at the blade, and this is where Shiro says, "You can't be fucking serious, right? This blade isn't even cutting me. It's not even affecting me. You're not swinging your kind of hips right. You know that, right?" This is where, well, mostly Freed winding his eyes, and even Cocobean. This is where Vampire was shocked to believe this is where Freed is screwed. This is where, well, Shiro is saying, "Still, swinging your hips will actually give more power to actually cut down anything, right? You're not doing that." This is where, well, Freed says, "Huh? And you know more than I do?" This is where Shiro says, "Of course I do. Because, watching," this is where, well, mostly Shiro decides to go on with the anime addiction that mostly Issei kind of had, and saying, "Because I am much better in anything. So you see here, I am much better swordsman and other stuff than ever you could be. Because you're nothing but a pathetic rip-off of mostly," this is where he then kind of says, this is where he says, "You're nothing but a rip-off of Dante Sparta from Devil May Cry, not gonna lie. Because you have this massive blade and your white hair. Not gonna lie, you're such a rip-off. Man, this is somewhat copyright, isn't it?" This is where Freed says, "Huh? You know what? fuck you. This is where he lets go of the blade and right now pulls out 2 guns to shoot at him. And this is where, well, Shiro right now cuts through the light holy blades, mostly just blasts. And this is where Shiro says, you really are a ripoff. This is where he just throws the Excalibur away and right now appears right in front of mostly Freed in an instant, grabbing his arms in an instant and then cutting them with mostly the white blade. Oh please, let go of those useless guns. Quite useless in my opinion. And fight me like a real man. Actually, you can't. I just cut off your arms. How about I give you a hand in holding that blade of yours? This is where, you son of a. This is where, well, Shiro right now puts a blade right in front of mostly Freed's kind of eye and saying, oh, what happened if I poke your eye with this blade? I wonder what would happen. Will you become blind? Because you're nothing but a pathetic human. This is where, well, mostly Shiro is just messing with mostly Freed in an instant. Because Freed is nothing but a pathetic weakling in his eyes. Now, you know how mostly Freed loves to just mess with anyone and kind of act cocky and other stuff? Shiro's kind of being cocky and arrogant because he knows that Freed is just a prick half the time. Because he kind of noticed from the fact that he swung that blade. Like, bruh, he didn't do jack shit and mostly Shiro just caught that shit. And yes, holy blades, even combining 5 Excaliburs, cannot really affect Issei. Because Issei isn't a devil. So yeah. This is where, well, Shiro says, what happens if I stab your eye out? Or what happened if I pluck it out? Can you still see? I wonder what you are most of the time. This is where, well, Freed says, I'll show you what I am. This is where he becomes this monstrous, mostly this like monster demon thing and an instinct that's like mutated monster. And this is where he says, I'll kill you. This is where, well, he tries to use his claws at Shiro and Shiro says, ugh, you look ugly. You look even more ugly than any of the espadas I've seen. But that's not the point. Die. This is where, well, Shiro swings his blade right in front of him and saying, blue flare. This is where, well, mostly a blue flame attack right now appears right now, destroying Freed in an instant. This is where, well, mostly Freed was killed in an instant, and this is where, well, Vampire was winding his eyes. Vampire looks at Issei, or Shiro, or whoever the hell this is. Well, Issei doesn't say his name, but it's mostly, yeah, Shiro. This is where, well, this is where Vampire says, what the hell are you? He tries to grab the Excalibur, but he knows that he can't hold it. And say, damn it! With only Freed that can hold it. This is where, well, mostly Kiba appears right in front of Shiro and says, I want to kill him. Shiro says, huh? And who gave you the right for you to kill whoever you needed to? I don't care in who the hell you need to kill. I am here because I'm bored. Now fuck off. My host right now told me to kill him. It doesn't matter who I kill, it just doesn't matter that I can't kill some of you bastards. This is where, well, mostly Kiba was confused, but it sounded like this person wasn't in control, but mostly like an inner demon was in control. This is where, well, mostly Kiba was trying to argue with Shiro until this is where, well, Vampire decides to, well, run away at this point. And this is where, well, both Kiba and Shiro say, hey! Get back here! Mostly, Shiro screams out, and this is where Kiba says, you bastard! Get your fucking fat ass over here! I'm gonna shove this blade up your ass! He grabs the kind of holy Excalibur, mostly the 5 blade in an instant, even though it's burning his fucking hand. And this is where, well, Vampire says, no, I won't die! This is where, well, Kiba was about to get hit by a light spear from mostly Cocobean until Shiro cuts it down. Saying, you pathetic devil really don't understand about mostly looking around. Hurry up and shove that damn blade up his ass. I'll protect you. And besides, it'd be quite funny anyway. A holy sword going up someone's ass. Whatever. This is where, well, mostly Cocobean is still very shocked against this person. He then just decides to say, I won't die! This is where he makes a huge light spear, and this is where, well, then they hear, well, mostly from on top of the dome, it just like sounds like an explosion, and a white figure says, divide, divide. This is where, well, Cocobean's like the spear was gone, saying, what? He looks up and sees the white dragon. He says, no, not you. I won't die. I will be able to. This is where, well, Shiro says, oh, shut up already. This is where Shiro appears in, and die. Blue flare. Swings it again, straight towards mostly Cocobean, and Mostly Cocobean coughs up more blood. Another mostly slash appears, but this time making an X on his chest. This is where, well, Shiro said, since he didn't die, maybe I should cut you down. This is where, well, mostly before something else happens, the ground right now makes a magic circle to divide his energy. And Shiro notices, but this is where Shiro says, I won't die! You die first! This is where, well, divide! Mostly the figure tries to divide both Shiro and Cocobean's energy. Shiro felt like his energy is dropping down, but this is where Shiro right now stabs the blade into what's it called, Cocobean. And this is where he says, blue flare! This is where, well, a explosion of blue energy, mostly of blue flames, appear around Cocobean right now, burning his body, incinerated in an instant. Shiro is laughing. You think you can stop me? I'm not letting you kill my prey. It was me that needed to kill that fucker. This is where, well, the blue arm, well, mostly not blue armor, the white armor figure kind of looks in near his eyes, or her eyes, whoever it is, straight towards Shiro, or mostly the masked figure. This is where Shiro disappears in an instant using Sanito, and this is where mostly the white figure tries to disappear and mostly, well, mostly you see energy to disappear from mostly Shiro attacking behind him. Shiro saying, come back, don't run. Now, the divider was actually affecting Shiro, but it wasn't actually taking his energy, his Rialto. It was just kind of getting rid of it a little bit. Not really that much. It was, since Rialto is different from magic, so yeah. This is where, well, the only thing that was getting divided is Issei's, like, little magic that he has. This is where Shiro then appears on the ground saying, it's so boring. Actually, my host is actually waking up, so I should be leaving. Hey, Arankars! This is where he then screams out in a very authoritative voice. This is where the Arankars stop killing their kind of prey. And of course, we're looking at the devils with delicious kind of grins and other things, because they were actually kind of getting hungry. And this is where when they hear Shiro's voice, they kind of turn towards mostly Shiro and nodding in an instant, saying, what do you need? Right now in a very scared tone. Get back to Wakamundo in an instant. This is where he makes a gate for Wakamundo, and this is where all Arankars decide to go inside and not question Shiro anymore. This is where, well, Shiro then looks at mostly the white armor figure and saying, next time, I'll cut you down. But right now, my host is going to wake up, and if he wakes up, well, it'll be a big problem. But next time, I'll cut you down. I'll make sure that you are nothing but a little tiny fragments of nothing but burnt ash. This is where, well, Shiro was walking away until mostly the white armor figure tries to attack, well, Shiro. Shiro disappears from the dark, mostly void and mostly portal and gone. This is where, well, the white armor figure was gritting his teeth because, well, first of all, the person that he needed to take towards, well, mostly a fallen angel was just killed a while ago. Now, before anything else happened, mostly someone with kind of orange hair and mostly purplish eyes, for some reason thought that the masked person kind of, for some reason, felt familiar a little bit, mostly it's magic a little bit. But this is where one girl with kind of whitish hair and goldenish eyes, slick eyes for a second, kind of widen her eyes, right now looking at the figure. His magic and sense were a little bit similar to that of one of the perverted trios. But she knows that two of the perverts are right now, well, kind of helping them. But at the same time, the last one of the perverted trio hasn't been seen in mostly 5 months. And this person, she's seen him, mostly the masked figure has seen them in the battle between Riser and himself, mostly the masked figure. But at the same time, smelling him, he smells so familiar, like super familiar, but a little bit different and sinister energy and a bunch of other energies mixed into it. But it felt kind of similar to that of the perverted trio leader being, well, Issei. But this person didn't seem like Issei because Issei was a pervert and was kind of not really outspoken like his two friends, because mostly his two friends did explain that the reason why they're perverts is because mostly Issei's like little problem being shy and quiet around people. But yeah, and the girl tried to figure out mostly the person, but the person seems to be different after the battle. Now, of course, we go into Vampire. Now, Vampire has an Excalibur shoved up into his asshole by Kiba. Kiba says, "Take it in, you damn asshole! I'll make you sure that you stay fucking dead." This is where Vampire says, "No!" But we don't care about that. But yeah, Kiba got his revenge, his satisfaction. Yes, that's all we needed. But yeah, now this is where we go into mostly Wake of Muno, and when the Arankars came back, they see Tira and also Grimjaw. This is where Grimjaw says, "What the hell? What is the low-ranking Arankars here doing in the palace?" Because they're in the palace, and this is where the Arankars say, they're right now in their kind of a resurrection form, and this is where Grimjaw says, "So you three must be the ones to try to attack us. I guess I'll go into my resurrection state and rip you people apart." This is where, they see someone appearing behind them, and it's none other than Issei, but right now having his half hollow mask, and of course having a purple eye instead of yellow. Mostly, purple somewhat. This is where, Grimjaw says, "Huh? Is that you, Shiro?" And he does call Issei Shiro, because he knows about mostly the white version of Issei. This is where, before Shiro can even talk, his mask shatters, and the other mask falls down, showing a brown-haired boy and falling down to the ground, passing out. This is where Grimjaw appears trying to grab for Issei, while Tira looks at the kind of three Arankars and wants to get an explanation on what the fuck happened. She is right now royally pissed. This is where, the three Arankars comply and say, "Yes, miss." But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna go into, leaving it off here for part 4. Other than that, bye, see you, and yeah, bye. But yeah.